name's Philip O'Donnell, and my rank is Lieutenant Commander, U.S. Navy Reserve. I would like to tell you about my most memorable night flight off of the USS Enterprise. So if it's something that is of interest, I keep coming back to night flying off the ship. Everything else pales in comparison. Before you've ever landed at night, in my case, sitting down in that ready room at 2 o'clock in the morning, your predominant feeling, your mind is a feeling of dread. Because you've never done it before and you feel like you're probably not going to come back from this. That's the first thing, okay, that you have. But you go up and you do it, you're trained and you do it. That's only a one-time occurrence. When you get out in the fleet and you're scheduled, you only get to fly once every 7 nights or whatever it is. When you get out into the fleet and you see you're on the night schedule, different feeling. Your feeling is, well, okay, I want to get my little afternoon lie down. You start thinking, preparing for that night flight in your mind, but there's no feeling of dread. It's simply, basically, you're now a professional naval aviator. I ask people, what do you think is the thing that the U.S. naval aviator fears most happening if he's flying off the ship at night? What is the one thing he doesn't want to happen? What's the one thing he fears most? And the answers might be, oh, he doesn't want the engine to quit, or he doesn't want to run out of fuel, or he doesn't want to crack. No. The thing the naval aviator, at least this naval aviator, didn't want to happen above all was vertigo. Spatial disorientation, the thing that killed John F. Kennedy Jr. Okay. The reason vertigo is so insidious and a killer is that it happens very quickly and you're dead very fast unless you handle it. The Navy is very, very familiar with the problems of spatial disorientation at night off a ship, and their solution is they don't spend 2 months talking to you about it. They give you 3 words. They say, yes, we're very aware of that problem. The solution is, quote, trust your instruments. Okay, well, I found that that's easier said than done. So, we'll go back to that night flight that I'm talking about. It was a nice night, no moon or anything, blacker than haze. I was still a junior officer, and the commanding officers fly on a nice moonlit night where you got a little bit of light from the moon, but they send all the JOs, the junior officers, the nuggets, off on the nights where it's really black. That's privileges of seniority. So anyhow, I go up for my night flight and they launch me off. This, by the way, happened a half dozen times on night flying, spatial disorientation. But the worst case was, it was a routine night flight, everything was normal, flying around, the normal turbulence, the normal clouds, the normal things and everything. So I'm coming back on the ship at night, and what you do is they don't have you come to the break and come around and land on the ship. They send you out to Marshall Point, which is 30 miles behind the ship, staggered altitudes, where you come in on a carrier control approach, a radar control approach. That's how you land aboard a ship at night. And so I hit my Charlie time, which is you're cleared to land, and I head on in. You have a profile you fly a certain speed, certain rate of descent, you start dirtying up the airplane, gear out, flaps down and all that. And I don't remember when it set in, but I realized that I was disoriented, starting to get spatially disoriented, because you have to do a little bit of turns coming into the ship, and you're turning. What's happening is these air follicles in your ears. When I stand up here, I don't fall down because I can see the floor and I can see the walls and I know what's up and down. You don't have any, and these hair follicles in your ears are what give you that sense of balance. You don't have any of that in this black hole. And what happens, these are lagging indicators by a few milliseconds. And in an airplane, if you turn here a little bit and it's lagging, you think you're still straight, so you turn a little bit more and you're actually in a turn. Okay, that's spatial disorientation. and it kills quickly. I was aware that I was getting spatially disoriented due to the movements of the airplane and the turbulence. There was a little bit of turbulence that night. How bad was the spatial disorientation? I was 500 feet behind the ship, flying a high-performance jet, can't see the ship. And I felt like I was hanging upside down in the airplane, flying in the back end of the ship at night, and I'm going to be dead in 3 seconds. It's a bad feeling. It's beyond terror. And your body reacts, the adrenaline, you didn't know your body was capable of producing that much of a reaction. The body wants to survive. It's instant, and it's just a burst of a feeling of terror. The body mind is telling you, unless you do something, you're going to be dead. And yet the Navy has said, I looked and my instruments were perfect. The Navy has said, trust your instruments. But every fiber of your being that's kept you alive on Earth is telling you, you're going to be dead. And it was so real, the feeling of flying upside in the back, that I could feel my torso harness, the straps, digging into my shoulders as if you were hanging upside down. And the last word I'll use is that it is way beyond terror. And it goes back to caveman times. It's, it's the body is equipped to do everything, and the feeling of terror. And right then, what I could either do was do something and die, or what I had to do then was fly extremely smoothly and precisely the way it was supposed to, which is what I did, and I landed. But that's the memory. And that happened 4 or 5 times on all the different cruises. And so that is the thing that engine failures, low on fuel, engine fires, the pilot can handle. A situation where your body is going to kill you using the thing that's kept you alive, walking around on Earth, that's a whole different problem. That's what the pilot worries about. You have no control over it. So, off this ship, now you're a professional Navy, flying extremely smoothly and precisely at all times is a requirement, or you're dead. And so you're trained to do it and you do it, or if you don't do it, you're not around. That was the story that's worth telling. And that's what young men are going through today. Except they have we had very basic stuff back then. Just after World War II, everything was manual. They've got automatic landing systems now. They got all these lights and gizmos and things that they call it the magic carpet. We didn't have any of that. We had, you were always coming back to the ship at night, couldn't see anything. You were always low fuel state. So there was no such thing as a dull night flight off the carrier. Okay, I kind of covered that, but I think you see the emphasis I place on that. And yet, I was down giving a speech to new naval students 10 years ago. We were having a pre-flight reunion, my class. The class asked me to get up and say a couple of words to all these students, and the instructors are sitting around on the walls. They're wearing their flight suits, so I stand up and got all these students paying attention. I said, you know, I said a few words beforehand, and I said, you know, it's very hard to predict the future. But I said, you are right now where we were. I turned to my fellow naval aviator. I said, you are right now where all of us were 55 years ago. And I said, it's hard to predict the future, but I will tell you this. I said, nothing you will ever do in your life will be as challenging, as harrowing, or as personally satisfying as landing off of an aircraft carrier at night. And these guys, students' eyes were getting bigger and bigger, and the instructors were going, oh, yeah, God, yeah. They each got, you know. So that's what I said to these young guys is that, and it's nothing you will ever do will be as challenging or as harrowing or as personally satisfying. Everything else you do is no big deal.